You're listening to 90.3 WHPC, the voice of Nassau Community College, right here in Garden City, New York. This is the Squared Circle. I'm Justin Greenberg alongside Anthony Tartamella. We're having technical difficulties. Is it delayed?
Yeah, it's completely delayed, so I'm just going to not wear them.
Yeah, don't have your headphones on.
Yeah, because it's going to really throw me off if I'm listening to you actually speak, and then like 8 seconds later I'm here. 7 seconds.
I'll do the same then. I'll take my headphones off.
Well, you're going to need to for the music, no?
I'm just going to fade it down.
Yeah, there we go.
All right, so we got a lot of topics to talk about on today's show. I think the main topic would be tonight's Raw in England.
Yeah, in London.
In London, jolly old London. Now, what are your thoughts on, pre-tape shows? Because this is happening, obviously, overseas, so it's not going to be, a live Monday Night Raw. Do you look up the spoilers?
I try not to. We looked up a few before the show, so I'm not going to lie and say we didn't. But we did. I don't generally like to, but I was just curious as to when they were taping.
Yeah.
So it is now. They are taping now. So if you are so inclined, you could look up the spoilers and see, what is going to happen tonight. But and the one spoiler I did see was pretty awesome, so pretty excited for that.
But we ain't gonna give that away. Today.
No.
So what about last week's Raw? I saw some of it. What was your thoughts on it?
It was a pretty good story building Raw. We're still a little ways away from Extreme Rules, which is the first week of June. So we still have about 3 or 4 Raws to go before then. So now is kind of the time. Now is kind of the time to, build those stories, really get people into them and get invested in what's going to happen at that pay-per-view. So we had that triple threat for the Intercontinental title, which happened last week. That was really the big story of the night.
Well, when you got no Universal Champion,
you got to rely on your second title. So you had Finn Balor versus Seth Rollins versus The Miz for a shot at the Intercontinental title at Extreme Rules. And it was a really good match, and you would expect nothing less when Seth Rollins or Finn Balor are in the match. And you just throw The Miz in there, who is just such a good heel, and the way he worked that match was just so good.
Yeah, I caught his promo to start the show. Yeah. It was awesome. He's on another level as far as promo skills go, even more so than Seth Rollins, who isn't that bad, but The Miz is just great, man.
Yeah.
Absolutely one of my favorites going right now. And then on SmackDown last week, we kind of all predicted it because we knew Chris Jericho was leaving to go on tour with his band Fozzy. So you knew that he was going to drop the title to Kevin Owens, and then they ran the injury angle. So, Y2J will be out for a month or a little more probably. Yeah. And now we have Kevin Owens as the United States champion.
Honestly, what I would say, I think the best kind of way to kind of work this, if they want to continue this push, is they could have, a few guys go up against Owens. I think if they did another Sami Zayn angle, that would be really good. With Owens, they always put on great matches. And then, have Jericho sit out until SummerSlam, have U.S. title match at SummerSlam, and then have him come out and interfere or, confuse.
Yeah, it would be great, if they could.
It's kind of like what they did with when he dropped the Universal title.
Yeah, it would be great if they can have this rivalry go for another half year or so, because it is some of the best stuff on WWE television these days. I am interested to see what they do with Owens, because I think he's going to be facing AJ Styles, which is going to be probably the match of the year candidate so far, I would imagine, because those two, such great workers, and put them together in a WWE ring, I think it's just money right there.
Yeah. Well, there's a lot of ways you can go with this, and if Jericho decides to come back, which I'm sure he will, because he's just one of the best workers in the company.
Yeah, he'll be back.
Right now, I think he's just as over, if not more over, than ever before in his career.
Yeah.
He is just he can do no wrong right now. So it would kind of be a mistake for him not to come back after he goes on tour and promotes his album and does all that fun stuff. So hopefully he comes back and is the Jericho we've known and loved for the past, year and a half, I would say?
Yeah, he always, whenever he comes back, though, he always finds a way to reinvent himself, whether it's, a change of ring attire or hairstyle or whatever.
Well, he did shave his head. I don't know if you saw that. He did shave his head completely almost.
I think that was a hoax.
Was it?
I think so.
Oh, I saw a picture of him with a shaved head.
I saw a picture of that as well, but I think it was, a hoax, as they say. So what else is happening on Raw tonight? There's going to be a tag team turmoil match for the number one contenders, who are the champs are the Hardys. So it's going to be the Club, Enzo and Cass, the Golden Truth, Slater and Rhino, and Cesaro and Sheamus. I guess, is this going to be an elimination or whoever?
Well,
gets
tag
first
turmoil.
pin?
The way tag turmoil matches work is they did one on SmackDown too, and when I was at the house show at the Garden, they did one. Basically, the way it works is
I think I know.
you have two teams that start the match, and then when one team gets eliminated, another one runs in. So whoever the last match is, last team in wins. So more than likely, it'll probably be like Cesaro and Sheamus and maybe the Club or Enzo and Cass or something like that.
Yeah, I think, they'll go with Cesaro and Sheamus and then obviously a face team to face them. They're not going to have the Club versus Cesaro and Sheamus. I expect, I don't want to say this name again, Cesaro and Sheamus to become the number one contenders.
They have a name now, don't they? It's called like the Ultimate, the something Warriors.
Foreign?
Yeah, something Warriors or something. I got to see what it is.
The Foreign Warriors?
Maybe.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
I like this team. I like that they're heel. I think this is great for Sheamus because he's naturally despised. And I think this is great for Cesaro because he's kind of been stagnant as his babyface. He was getting to a certain level, but he was never going to be pushed to that extreme level as a babyface. But now he's full-on heel. I like it. It's the first we've seen of this in quite some time. And I really like this team, and I expect them to go up against the Hardys in a rematch.
And Sheamus is a natural heel, too. Yeah. I just think he kind of, is that. He's such a big guy, a hard-hitting guy. He was a face for a while, but I just think some of his best work comes as a heel, personally.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. And we'll see how the Raw Tag Team division ends up being, and then eventually we'll get the Arrival back, which is going to be great. And if they can build up, teams like Slater and Rhino and the Golden Truth, who have essentially been jobbers, at least the Golden Truth have for quite some time, if they could build them up to be anything, we'll have a solid tag team division on Raw.
I also think it's kind of interesting that Enzo and Cass have been here now for over a year and have never had a title shot, never had a title match.
Well, they've had a title shot, for
Never
sure.
had a title match, though.
Yeah, they have. At WrestleMania.
Oh, well, that was a fatal four-way.
Yeah, maybe they haven't had a one-on-one title match.
Which I think is kind of, they put in a lot of good work. They've worked well. They put on good matches. Both of them are entertaining. They're both over. I just think the problem is that you have the only other face team, really, that's legitimate is the Hardys at this point. So
I think it would be great if they could hold off on this title run, and if they could do it their first win at WrestleMania, maybe do a whole year program starting now about how, they haven't won the big one yet, and push it, and if WWE can hold off until next April, which I doubt they can, but it would be something for... I always like to see first title wins at Mania. It always means something a little more.
Yeah.
Some other big news. I'm loving this. I love Jim Ross. To me, he's the greatest play-by-play announcer of all time. And he's teaming up with Nigel McGuinness, who was great, one of my favorite wrestlers of Ring of Honor. And now he's the announcer for NXT.
Yeah.
But now him and JR are going to be calling the WWE UK show. Now, I don't know if this is a monthly show, a weekly show, but it's great to have these two together. I love that Jim Ross is on Team WWE again. It's great to have him.
Yeah, I mean, he's kind of the voice of one of the most popular eras of wrestling, for WWE. So, I mean, I'm personally glad that he's back. I don't know that he should be doing it every day anymore. I don't know if maybe he can handle that at his age.
I know he could, and I know the reason I think that they don't want that is because obviously his looks, because WWE is all about, these pretty looking people, and JR, who's had, cases of
Michael
Bell's
Cole
palsy.
He's a real good looking guy.
Well, I think they're even pushing him out. They're getting, the younger, the Byron Saxtons and the Otungas and Tom Phillips, and so they don't like JR's look, and it's so annoying that they do this stuff because he clearly has the best mind for this business in calling a wrestling match.
You want to know the last time JR got fired? You want to know why he got fired from WWE?
Because Ric Flair was a drunken idiot,
and he mentioned TNA.
Oh, is that
Ric
it?
Flair mentioned TNA at a WWE event. They fired Jim Ross because he was supposed to make sure he didn't do anything stupid.
That makes sense.
Vince McMahon, everybody.
Yep.
Speaking of which, I don't know if you saw, there's a movie. They're doing a movie about Vince. I think Sony Pictures is doing it.
So hopefully this gets made. It's an early development. I haven't read anything about it. I saw Jim Cornette was reading the script on his podcast.
I think that was a different script that he ended up buying, I think, I saw.
Yeah. I would love for this movie to come to fruition. It's going to be hard, with legal issues. They're probably going to have to change some names. I don't know if it will ever get made, but that man has one of the most interesting stories in the history of just, like the 20th century and now the 21st century. He's came from essentially, he was an orphan, actually. He didn't live with his father till he was like 15 years old, and then he moved in with him, and then obviously he bought the company from Vince McMahon Sr., and then made it the sports entertainment from wrestling, and now he's a billionaire.
Yeah.
And he's gone through, his controversial stuff, being sued by Congress and going into court for giving steroids to wrestlers. There's a lot of great Vince McMahon stories out there.
I would be interested in seeing where they get their information from and if it would be a pro-Vince thing or...
It would have to be an anti-Vince thing, unless it's a WWE film. I
know it's Sony, I think.
Yeah, so I think the reason they're making this is, to paint the negative light of Vince McMahon. I'm assuming.
I don't know.
I don't know who could play him. Maybe because you got to have
depends the type of movie you want it to be too.
Yeah, like where do you set it? Do you set it his whole life?
Well, if you want it to be funny, then I think Will Ferrell would do a great job.
That'd be amazing.
But if you don't want it to be a funny movie, then you'd have to get somebody else. Obviously.
So I think an actor like J.K. Simmons would be a really good job as Vince McMahon. I would have to think about this for a while.
What's the name of the guy that played the Rookie?
The Rookie. What's the Rookie?
It's a baseball movie.
Not
no,
sure.
it's a famous actor. As soon as
Is it Josh Brolin?
No, it's Dennis Quaid.
Dennis Quaid. Yeah, I could see that. I could see Quaid as him.
Yeah,
that would be great.
That would be, I think, if it's a serious movie.
And then they would obviously have to cast, wrestlers. So you'd have to have someone playing Hulk Hogan.
You get Hulk Hogan to play Hulk Hogan. I mean, if it's not a WWE film.
Yeah, and he's not on good terms with the company.
Well, actually, I'm sorry to interrupt you again, but I know we didn't write this down, but apparently he said that he's in talks. Hulk Hogan said he's in talks with WWE to come back to the company.
Hulk Hogan talks out of his butt quite often. Apparently he was the bassist for Metallica as well, according to Hulk Hogan.
You see who the bassist for Metallica, not Metallica, the bassist for Korn is right now?
Yeah, it's like a 13-year-old
12-year-old.
kid, right?
It's the son of Metallica's bassist.
Insane.
Is playing in Korn right now.
What a life. What were you doing at 12 years old?
I was listening to Korn. I can tell you that much.
Yeah.
I was not playing in Korn. So.
That's great. I was eating corn.
Yeah.
While listening to Korn. This kid is in Korn.
Yeah.
God bless. God bless.
He's in an ear of corn. He lives in an ear of corn.
So I personally, I'm a big Hulk Hogan fan. Obviously, he said some dumb stuff, but I think I've said it before. Everyone deserves, a second chance, especially a guy who helped build the company that is WWE. Eventually, he will be back. Yep. He's got to be back. Let's stick with stuff that's going on in the company today. So I think Kurt Angle's doing a great job as the Raw. Is he GM or commissioner?
The GM, because Stephanie McMahon, took that bump going to the table at WrestleMania.
It's tough, man. Got to be out for
tough bump.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Ridiculous. So I think Kurt's doing a great job as the GM. Mm-hmm. I think he's doing a better job than Foley for sure. And I liked Foley as commissioner or GM.
I think the thing that it's hard. It's too early for me to say what I think he's doing a very good job. He knows how to be on TV. The problem I think so far I've had with Angle is that every week when he comes out, it's like the first time he's coming out in so long. Mm-hmm. Like he's waving to everybody, like thank you, like And I don't think he's bad, but he hasn't been able to be introduced in any storyline yet.
Yeah, I think once they get him in a storyline,
Stephanie, I think then we'll say okay, now this is awesome.
And again, I said that Kurt Angle should always be a face just because he's always going to get cheered. But looking back at some of his stuff, Kurt is such a good heel, and if anybody could get the crowd to boo him, it would be Kurt Angle. So I think him as a natural heel, like kissing Stephanie's butt, would be amazing. Yeah. It would be so good. And then you have eventually he's going to wrestle, like he said, because that's where I was going. Kurt